Hi everyone. Today I'm going to share a technique in auto coding in NVivo. As what we know, most of the time we use NVivo to analyze interview data, policy document data. Also, of course, we could also use it to analyze the literature when we want to manage our literature in a more effective and more systematic way during the period that we have so many different kind of literature we want to put it in our literature review. And as what we know, when we read a literature, we might mention, okay, why I'm reading this, and what is the argument of this literature, and what are the evidence, and how the author collect the evidence for the argument. And also we might be interested in how this literature is exactly related to our research. That's our final landing point, right? So all these key points that we care, actually we can make it into a template when analyzing our literature. And then at the end, we can combine all this data together and try to look over all the literature in a more systematic way. And NVivo exactly have this function to help us to create a template and look over all the analyze at the end after we read all this literature. So today I'm going to show you how we could do it and make it more effective when we read our literature and make our analyze more systematic. Of course, the point is in NVivo, they cannot help us to analyze the literature that we are reading, but it could help us to organize our notes, organize our analyze in a more systematic way. So it's a data and coding management software. It could not help us to analyze the literature itself. So here I'm going to share my screen. As what you see here, here I already import the files that I want to analyze. For example, you could follow me step by step. I upload 6 items of the literature that I might be interested in, and I think it's related to my research, and I'm going to read it in a detail. So in the NVivo, I could create a template that help us to organize my notes. Here we come to the memo. We create a new memo. We will say like analyze literature template. Yeah. So we will have a totally blank document here. And as what we mentioned, we actually, when we read the literature, we might focus the same questions on the literature. For example, why are we reading this, and what's the argument of this literature? Is there any default or terrible evidence in this literature? What is doing good in this literature, and how this literature related to us? So these questions are quite common, no matter most of the time when we read different kind of literature, we care these questions. So we could make it a template here. Actually, I already have a sample question. So I just copy and paste here. Okay. Here we write a note on the top saying like literature reviewing templates or questions. Obviously, you could also use it as a template for understanding policy document or some other kind of documents that you are interested in, or media data. So it's not only applied to literature review only. You can use it for other kind of function for this template, and you can change the question I list here. So here's some notes. Okay, so we have, for example, if this is just my draft question, you can have yours and you can take your time to draft it. We have all this question here. We try to make it in to different style. Here, we click, as what I said, we click edit. And in edit, we can try to change the style of the question. Then we use the style of different font to create a template. Because, for example, if all these fonts are all the same, the system, they can't recognize what is what. And for example, here, I show you how I do it. Okay, we create the question and then we leave some space for you to answer the question for each literature in the future. So here's the first question we care. So we make it heading 1. And here should be normal format. And question 2 also heading 1. We do the same thing for each question we care. And we just need to ensure that the middle, it's not heading 1, because that is the data, the analyzed node that we are entering. We could make it 12. Okay, 12. But just need to double check and ensure this empty space, they are not having any like heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. They don't have any style, because otherwise when we do auto coding, the system, they can't recognize them. If you just want to recognize this heading 1 as the question itself as an auto code, so you need to make everything consistent and double check they are not heading 1. Okay, here it seems that they're heading 1. So you just need to double check they should be normal. Normal, okay. It's normal. Yeah, NVivo is not that useful in document editing as Word in some way. Okay, here, that is our template. Okay, we can save and close it. Okay, now we have already created our template and we come to our files. For example, let's say we want to read this. Okay, that's our document. And we want to create a memo for it. Create. Oh, here we want to create a new memo here, link to a new memo. So here the title of this document is Gender Justice and Policy. Okay. We say that template, analyze templates, analyze. We just add a name, analyze. So because we are going to put the node in it, so click OK. It's empty. And then we try to copy this question to the memo here. You see, we created a memo for the first document. It will show up in the memo file here. Then we open it. It's an empty one, so we copy and paste the question that we set up. And also, we do the same thing for the second document. For example, this one, create memo link. It means we create a new memo for it. Gender, work, and care in policy. Analyze. Okay, it's a new empty one, memo. We copy and paste the question that we are going to make notes on. And here I want to emphasize that actually memo is the same from the perspective of being documents. Memo is the same as the file of this literature document. They're all documents. But memo is more like a place, a blank document that we want to make notes on. But the file is data. For example, they could be policy document data, they could be literature data, they could be your interview transcript data. But memo is more like function as a note, but they're all documents in some way. So here we have like two memo. Here we want to analyze the first literature. Okay, let's say why I'm reading this literature fun and meaningful, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Just an example here. And then we also do the same thing here. Okay, we try to answer what's the key argument. The key argument and how is this literature related to my research. We just randomly enter something here. You see here, we realize that because this is not normal, we need to edit it and make it into normal. Otherwise, here we need to make it normal again. Otherwise, the system cannot recognize. The system will think this sentence is also the questions that we are interested in, rather than as an answer for these questions. So we need to distinguish and double check it. But that is the detail part. We could make it more effective later on. And here, okay, and also do the same thing for another memo when we analyze, okay, when we read another literature, gender, work, and care and policy, we can A, B, C, D, we answer this. Just randomly enter something. Here is okay. So currently we have, as what we see here, we have two memo. That's the template, so it doesn't count. So we have two memo. We want to auto code it. That is the important part, because like A, B, C, D, E, these questions, they all have style. They are heading 1 as a font style. So the system, they can recognize it as special code. And here we are going to do auto coding. We double click, we choose these two memo and right click. We can see auto code. Here we don't have speaker's name, not like the interview transcript. We are going to do paragraph style. That's why we use heading 1 as one of the sites. Of course, you can use heading 2, heading 3 in the questions to make the form have the format. But of course, you could also create a new format for yourself. But here we use paragraph style as the identifier to distinguish what is the question, what is my note, to separate them. And next, okay, as what you see, available paragraph style. We have heading 1, we have normal, that's our note. We don't want to let them become a code. We want the heading 1, the question we are asking when we make our notes, when reading the literature. We want it to become a code. Then we could collect all the notes for the first questions across all my literature. Here, and then we click here, we select them. And then next, we want to create a new folder, obviously, because we don't want to mix it up around. And we will save this new folder into the notes. And let's give them a name, site, literature notes, or analyze. Okay, We click finish. Okay, we can't have this. Let's just say literature analyze that. Finish. And then we go to the code, the note here. We will see here this folder. I think this is I think it must be at the beginning I make some mistake in the font. Then that's why it has this kind of code here. And as what we see, we can see why reading this literature become a code. So in the future, if we are justifying why this literature is important, then we could see through from all the literature that we read, we all have the answer here, have the answer there. And what are the key arguments of different literature? As the second code, we could see the answer here across all the literature that we read. So we actually organize our notes in a more systematic way. And when we write about the literature, the research gap in the field at the moment, we could go to the question E. What are the helpful content in this literature and what I could use to inform my research? And then we will have all this answer. Then you can use this note to organize your literature review and write your literature review, because you have got all the notes here and you have all the answer according to the same questions when you read the literature every time. And it's very flexible. You can change your questions at the beginning, and for different discipline, you can ask different questions as well. So that is the auto codes when analyzing the literature here. Thanks for watching.